All right, so the next piece that we're going to work on is called color spirograph, and it is effectively another color wheel. It's just a different looking one. It uses a slightly different approach, and if it would let me move it over, I would do this. And the final version of this is this guy. So it looks like a flower. And we're going to build this in Illustrator, and then separately I'll do it and grab it for anybody who's working in that tool. All right, so the first piece of this, and mine, I may not necessarily go back to the instructions a whole lot, so just bear with me if it looks subtly different than the other one when we're finished, but the basic idea should come through. All right, so I'm going to start with an ellipse. That's the first shape. So I've got a letter size document again here, and I don't want to take an Illustrator survey. I'm going to create a 2-inch circle. And I could have absolutely typed in the numbers, especially given that in my head right now I'm kind of going, awesome. I'm having to convert from points and picas to 72 points, so it should be 144 if I'm doing it correctly, and I'm in that ballpark. So that's a 2-ish inch circle. And the other part the instruction said is make it black and no stroke. So I'm going to do that. And then from here, I'm going to modify the shape to create the petal. The petal is really simple in that it is the top and the bottom points of this made pointy. So you grab the pen tool, you click and hold, and you go to the anchor point tool, and you click on the top center point and the bottom center point. It's not a click and drag, it is just a straight up click, top center, bottom center, and then you're left with a shape that looks something like this. And then the only thing that makes it more petal looking is that the top and the bottom points are stretched out a little bit, or the whole thing is squashed in a little bit, and either one of those sort of accomplishes the same thing. I'm going to step backward to my original circle one more time just for anybody that missed it, and convert anchor point tool, click, click, center, top, and bottom, and then rather than move the points, I'm going to just do the stretch approach this time. I've switched to the black arrow. You can't edit those points, by the way. If you were in the full object select, you did have to be in white arrow mode to get to the individual points. But anyway, back to the black arrow, stretch it out, and then squash it in a little bit because we need a narrower petal. And then from here, it is really simple. We're going to grab the rotation tool. We're going to alt click at the very tip of the bottom of this petal, or option click if you're on a Mac. The petal has to be selected, and you have to click at the center bottom with the Alt key or the Option key while using the rotation. That's as complicated as this one gets. And then you need to know how many degrees of rotation you're looking at. 360 divided by 12, I mean, that's what we're looking at here. So if you don't know how to do this, because we need 12 total petals, you can open your calculator, and 360 divided by 12 equals 30 degrees. So we're going to type in 30, and we're going to click on the copy button. We don't want to move the original. We want to create a copy that's rotated, so we'll click on the copy button. Once we've done that, object, transform, and then, oops, transform again, which is Control D. And then I could keep going object, transform, transform again, or Command or Control D until I have my full flower's worth. Now I have all of the petals, and I'm ready to start picking the individual colors that I need for each. Your color order has to be logical, as I mentioned in the previous exercise, but your colors don't exactly have to match the original. I'm going to start with red. And right now I'm not seeing mine because I have the stroke as my active top element, not what I want. I'm going to turn off the stroke, I'm going to activate the fill, I'm going to pick my color, and it'll show up. If yours didn't, it's because either you're picking the stroke like I was, or you don't have your shape selected. It'll let you pick a color if you don't have a shape selected, but you won't see what's happening. Green is going to be the one that's opposite. It's the complementary color to red. So if you want to sort of go through this as the quickest way of picking complement pairs, that's fine. I'm going to need blue and yellow, and they're sort of equidistant from the red, and then I can fill in the in-betweens to get me where I need to go. So between yellow and blue, I've got the bright green there, and then I have a more yellow green and a more blue green. And then working towards the red, I'm going to have a very pinky color, moving further into purple as we go. And I'll have my orangey tones happening here. And, okay, that looks horrible. That was a really bad choice. But so long as you don't pick mud somewhere along the way, you'll get your basic flower shape. Now, what makes this look like the sample one is that the petals were semi-transparent. And that happened not by adjusting the opacity option, but by adjusting the essentially the blending mode for this. So we need, and I've got to find the right palette. I can open that one. It is under the transparency palette that you get to it, but it's not a transparency setting per se. And I've got all of my petals currently selected. If you don't, you won't see the difference here. So select them all, change what currently in the transparency palette says normal to multiply. And all of the petals maintain their color, but they become essentially semi-transparent panes of glass. So you can see through them to each other. And if you wanted it to be slightly more transparent, you could then reduce the opacity a little bit. And the final version looks something like this. When you're done, you're going to save it and turn it in as either an AI or a PDF. Either of those is fine. And then you'll move on to the next assignment.